All right, well, now that we've talked about the NFL a lot, let's switch gears and come on home. Let's talk about our Sacramento Kings. They've been somewhat of an enigma this season. Hard to predict going into the season and still kind of unpredictable. 21 games in, the Kings are currently sitting at 10 and 11, still last place in the Pacific Division. But they're currently sitting at in 11th place in the Western Conference standings, only a game and a half out of 5th seed in the Western Conference. A lot of teams struggling. There's a lot of shift going on. And with the way De'Aaron Fox and rookie Tyrese Halliburton are playing, the question we got to ask is, what are your expectations for the Kings this year now that we're 21 games in? Jordan, let's start with you.
I definitely think just because of all the unpredictable starts to the season in the Western Conference and the fact that it is close between a lot of teams, if the Kings, it always comes down to if the Kings play with the same intensity they did in the game against the Celtics the other night, if they keep that throughout the rest of the season, they will make the playoffs. But it's not it's can they play like that the rest of the season? I think that's the big question, and I think that's always been the question over the past couple of years. You see, they've had terrible losses and great victories over the past couple seasons, going back to 2 years ago when they fell like what was it, like 4 games out of playoff contention. They almost made a run at it, but they just couldn't quite finish the job. And then they came back last season and kind of disappointed. But I'm really looking for them to make a push towards the playoffs this season. I think they can. I think De'Aaron Fox took the next step, and he continues to take the next step. He's going to be an all-star. I'm looking for the Kings to make some noise this year in the Western Conference.
Man, it's a little early to start saying the P word, isn't it? It's a little early to start using that P word. But, I mean, I'm encouraged from what I've seen. I had given up all optimism heading into the season, after the fiasco that was the Bogdanovich trade that failed and he ended up leaving for nothing. I didn't have high hopes for this team this year. I was like, it's going to be Monty McNair's first year. I expect a really tough year, a high draft pick, and then, we'll roll in the next year and see what we have under us. But, I mean, the team has been playing okay on the offensive front. It's the defensive front that scares me, and that's been the case for a while. But, I mean, when you look at the numbers that the Kings have been putting up, De'Aaron Fox averaging 22.3 points a game. That's pretty good, and he's kind of justifying why we paid him that max money, especially if he keeps putting on those fourth quarter performances that he's been putting on over the last 5 games. And Tyrese Halliburton as well. I was skeptical of him just because of the Kings' history. I'm skeptical on every draft pick. I just don't have that optimism anymore about draft picks in Sacramento. But he's really good. He might be a difference maker for this team. They just seem so much more invigorated when he's on the floor. And I'm looking at the Western Conference, and a lot of teams are out of position compared to where I thought they were going to be heading into the season. The biggest one being the Dallas Mavericks, all the way down at 14th place, and they just got clamped by the Warriors tonight. So, I mean, it looks like a very volatile Western Conference, but I think, I still think it's too early to say the P word. But if it keeps going on like this, if they can manage to pull themselves above 500, keep playing the way they are, get a little bit better on the defensive front, it might not be as out of the box as I thought it was at the start of the season.
See, Jordan, Boston fan, noticed everything's Boston today. If you notice, Mack is what a true Kings fan is. Scarred. Scarred in every decision, in every draft pick, and always got to think about the negative. But I'm going to flip it like I've been doing all year, Mack. What'd I tell you before we left the pod? Rookie of the Year, Tyrese Halliburton, stepping up like I called it. So that's making me feel real good that Tyrese is stepping up to the plate. And like you said, Mac, he's playing closing minutes, and he's right there neck and neck with LaMelo Ball for the Rookie of the Year. Simple as that. I don't know. And then also got the Wiseman in there too. He's been having a great year too. So those 3 guys I've been loving. Like you said, Mac, too, we paid De'Aaron, and obviously, like I told you, we were going to pay him whatever. We would have gave him the whole city. We got to keep somebody here, or we're going to have nothing without De'Aaron. So paying De'Aaron looks good. All-Star Jordan, I don't know about All-Star. I hope he does. I don't think he can get enough votes with how many guards are in the league. But yeah, he's All-Star caliber for sure, I think. I think he's stepping up, taking that next step. Realistic expectation. Expectation's always championship in my mind. But that's why we say realistic expectation for the Kings. Tampered expectation. And tampered expectation is exactly what I had in the beginning of the year, Mac. We talked about it before when they were talking about should they tank and everything like that. And I kept preaching to you, I don't care what they do this season, as long as they build winning habits. You have to build a culture of winning habits to have a winning organization. You can see any years that great franchises are down, like the Celtics, like the Heat, those type of franchises, when they're down, even when they're losing, they're still having winning habits. So I feel like the Kings are building winning habits. Even though a couple weeks ago when they was going like that 5-game skid, I was getting a little nervous. But hey, they double back. They learned their lessons. And realistically, I had them as an 8 seed, Jordan, coming in. I'm gonna temper my expectations even lower now. I'm gonna say 8 to 10, as long as that counts as the playing game. As long as you get in the playing game, I'm gonna be super happy as a Kings fan. And simple as that. I think the city would throw a party if we get to the playoffs even. So I think that's the realistic expectation. I'm liking everything I'm seeing from the Kings. I think roles are getting more developed by day, and like you guys said, slow start to like the Dallas and like weird teams hopping up in the West. I feel like it's giving the opportunity because the season has been weird. So I think as long as the Kings keep consistency and start making those voting habits, like not those games like Jordan says, one day they look crazy and the next day they look like trash. As long as they can keep the consistency of, even if they're in losses, keep the consistency of what the game plan is and what the culture of the team's going to be, and people are playing their roles, I'll be happy as a Kings fan. And if they can get to the 8 to 10 seed, I think that'll make everyone smile.
I think that's an important point you raised with the playing games being in effect this year. Without those, I don't think I would be saying the P word. But I mean, it looks like they've done a really good job of solidifying their core and who's getting what minutes. It looks like they've frozen out Nemanja Bjelica for the time being. Looks like he's going to get moved sometime before the deadline. And they got their starting 5. I'm looking at it. Fox, Barnes, Hield, and Bagley, they've started all 21 games. And then Holmes has started 20 and Halliburton started 1. So they got their, starting 6 lined up. So,
quick question before we dip out. Is Holmes, I've been seeing this topic everywhere, is Holmes a starting center in this league? Was he an impact player like that? Because I'm seeing a lot of yes or no's. What you guys think real quick?
I think he is. I personally haven't watched him much, but I did get to see a little glimpse of it when Boston played Philadelphia and he was there. He was a really good player for them off the bench. He was impactful. I think when you look around the league, there's obviously not a lot of teams that play with a traditional center anymore. So when you kind of say center, I mean, you may be talking about a different thing, just depending on what team you're talking about.
Yeah.
But just the question, like, can he be a starting center in the league? I think he can.
Can he? Yes. Is he the ideal starting center? Probably not. Is he the starting center on a lot of these contending teams? No. I think the answer is no. But I love Richaun Holmes. I love the energy he brings to Sacramento. And I think he's a valuable asset on any team you put him on. And he's filling his role nicely while he's here. And if he's here for the long term, the Kings are going to be better for it.